Thank you so much for tuning into Her TV. My name is Karen Stephanie Lee, and I got a very special guest with me today, Cam Gnarly.
What up?
How you feeling?
Feeling good. It's been a long day, but we're here.
Yes, you're definitely here. Thank you so much for coming through, though. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
No problem. So I do this with every guest that I have. I like to have a small introduction for people that aren't familiar with you and your music. Just a little quick introduction with your name, where you reside at, and how long you've been an artist for.
My name. I got my name because my name is really Cam. That's my real name.
Mm-hmm.
My last name starts with a G, and the G in Gnarly is silent. So I just thought that would be cool. So I never had to really lose my name or lose who I am.
Yeah.
I just do a bunch of gnarly shit.
I feel that.
That's how I came up with that name. I'm from. I represent the I.E. I'm from San Bernardino. I was born in LA. I bounced back and forth between I.E. and LA a lot growing up, but I went to high school, all my school and everything in the I.E. So I definitely rep San Bernardino. I live in San Bernardino, and I've been making music, man, for a cool one since like 2000. I started taking it serious probably in like 2010.
Really?
2010, 2011 is when I started taking it serious.
It's crazy because I was looking through your music catalog, and there's so much music, bro. Like, there's so much. It's hard for me. Like, I have to really take my time and dissect and like listen. But like the tracks and some of the albums that I've listened to thus far, I'm freaking like feeling. I'm digging it.
Thank you.
And I feel like the first project you did was a Posse Prevails, right? Prevails?
Yeah, well, I did the GoPro album first in 2014.
Okay.
But I re-released it later on.
Okay.
So I did GoPro first, and that was just like some of my favorite songs on there, like Levitate and Life's a Wet Right Now, and Low Pro and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those songs are like the ones that really helped me. Like, I love to perform. I do a lot of shows.
Yeah.
So those are the songs like I would do off that project that really like progressed. And then after that, I dropped The Positive Prevails in 2016, I think.
Yeah, 2016.
And then that had song Cabbage and Uber and The Juice and those songs were always great too. Great songs to perform and stuff like that. Cabbage really, I credit that song. That song did change my life, like for sure. Like it got me like my first big bag. So I was like, all tight. So I did that, and then most recently I dropped my latest album, or like I haven't dropped the album since GoPro, and then I actually re-released GoPro in 2018. I re-released it, adding like new music and remixes to it, and then recently I just dropped my new album Gnarvana.
Yeah, I did that one a lot.
Yeah,
But if I gotta choose, because again, you got a big catalog of music, but I was listening to Posse Prevails. Am I saying that right, Posse?
Yeah, The Positive Prevails. Sure,
yeah. My favorite cut, if I had to pick, is well, it's two of them actually. Is Uber.
Yeah.
And because I mean, you can relate to that. It's
Shout
just
out
like
to Cast One.
Yeah.
So many Ubers in my life. It's crazy having so many songs because, to me, a song may feel old, but as I gain new fans and new listeners, like, like what you're saying, like they'll tap in on the catalog and be like, oh, I love this song, or will you perform this song, that kind of thing. And it's just a trip, because me and my homies talk about it all the time. Like, you don't know what song's gonna hit when it hits, but it just does. But yeah.
How do you remember all that too? Because there's so many lyrics that you've written, and it's just like, how do you ever forget your lyrics sometimes? Because there's so much music.
For me, I write from a very intentional or more so like emotional place.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, I could sit down and just jot down bars all day in that way, but for me, my music for me is like a time capsule. When I listen to it, I can remember where I was mentally and what was going on in life and who I was hanging out with and that kind of thing. Like it reminds me of all that kind of stuff. So it is hard to remember lyrics, but when you tap into that moment when I was making it and writing it in the early time, it gets pretty easy. But Uber is one of those songs that be hard to perform. I ain't gonna lie.
Really?
It's hard to perform that song sometimes. Like the
that shit would get me lit. Like I mean, again, I love that vibe to it. It's one of my favorites. And then
like that West Coast type bounce to it.
It does.
It's like a reminiscence of like a Boys in the Hood kind of energy.
Yeah. And then the Gnarly Orca, and that's featuring Noah James.
Yeah, actually that's crazy. Us doing that record turned into a whole project that we ended up calling Gnarly Orca.
Yeah.
We released that in I think we released that in 2017, and that was with Alpha Pup Records and record label. Shout out to homie A Brook and the homie Disco on the production on that. But that was like a really dope project too. We actually working on a Gnarly Worker too right now.
Shut up.
Yeah, we just did a short Oakland tour probably like 2 weeks ago. We did Santa Cruz, Oakland, and San Francisco, and we linked up with the homie Nug Life out there, and we already like two, 3 songs deep. So
that's awesome.
there is another Gnarly Worker coming.
Oh man, well I'm anticipating for that one.
Yeah, shout out Noah, that's my boy.
Though, and I like it a lot too because there was a verse out. The chorus pretty much says like, "Don't let your dreams just be dreams."
Yeah.
And I also noticed you rapping into pretty much that cut was you rapping things that you wanted into existence, and I think that's so important, especially nowadays in music, because I feel like, I mean, after a while, I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, you know, we do want these type of songs to vibe out to get lit to whatever. But I feel like it's so important to speak about your dreams and also talk about it can be done because you're actually, you know, living it. You're speaking into existence. You know, I did notice that, you know, you guys were going in further depth with, you know, loving your.
I was rapping about like frequencies and stuff.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Noah was rapping about loving his wife and having a daughter.
Future daughter, yeah.
That's one of those songs too. Actually, that song, how that song even came about, that was Noah. Noah shot me that song, and then we both liked it so much we put that song on both of our projects.
Yeah. At
that time, he released 3 Bullets and a Golden Gun or something like that, and Gnarly Worker was on that, and then right after I released The Positive Prevails, and Gnarly Worker was on that too. It's just like 2 different versions too. You have to listen to both. Like the intros is different on both.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those songs that was really the start of like a lot of linkage too between Noah and I. But that's a special song. Like it's very
special,
intentional, motivational.
It definitely pulled my heartstrings because it was just like you just said, you know, speaking things into existence and staying in a higher frequency, which is yourself. Yeah. And being committed to the journey, the sport, you know. So that to me just really grabbed my attention.
Thank you. That's really what my intention when I create music. I make it to heal myself, to make it to heal others. I make it to get closer to my higher self and just enjoy the fact that this is the journey, this is the path, this is shit that I wanted like, you know, almost 10 years ago. And you know, you never know what it's gonna look like, but I have homies or other, you know, younger people or homies who approach me and then be like, oh, I'm trying to do this and trying to do that like you. And it's a trip because, you know, not so many years ago I was wanting to do the same thing. And you know, we all have bigger goals to advance to new levels and stuff, and it's just dope to have made it this far on the journey and still got, you know, so much more in the tank. That's really tight.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that, and that's one of my questions too. But before I ask that question, so what's your history between you and Noah James?
We went to high school together. That's my bro. Like that's my brother. We went to high school together. He was a senior and I was a freshman. And then not only that, he started doing Common Ground back, so many years ago. Like, he started doing Common Ground, and I was like one of the first performers. I was in a group at the time, and we just have a lot of history. It's hard to say like we're intertwined, but also Noah's a person that created a platform for our music community. So it's like it's hard to not associate Cam Gnarly with Noah James because, I mean, granted, we have music together and we tour together, and that's my brother, so that's off top. But we have history. You know, we came up and performed on the same stages and made it easier for each other. Like, you know, Noah would do stuff and make opportunities out here so that, you know, create a platform so I could perform and spread my music and my message. And I would do the same thing vice versa. You know, like, you know, when we were doing shows in LA and stuff, like we represent something that's bigger than us individually. You know, like our intention is to try to make it easier for people from the IE to do what we do or even do it better, you know, take it further. But, you know, we like to build bridges. Like that's how we maneuver.
I feel that, and that's just that's like I said before. I mean, it's very inspirational because a lot of people, you know, coming from. I mean, if you want to consider San Bernardino a small town or the IE, you know, whatever.
It's crazy too, but it's like the biggest county in the United States, but it is a small town.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure you inspire so many people that, like I said, you know, that want to be in the sport, that see you do it. I mean, what kind of gems can you drop as far as, you know, having these, you know, uprising artists look at you and be like, damn, I'm from either Chino or, you know, Fontana. Like, you know, what type of gems can you drop just, you know, as far as, you know, because when it comes to doing this sport, it's very hard to get into.
Yeah.
And it's very hard when life happens to stay consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So what gems would you drop for anybody that's looking up to you?
You know, for me, it's all about perspective. It's always been about perspective. Like, you gotta be able to train your mind to see the silver lining in a dark situation, or see the lesson in some fucked up shit happening to you. It's all about how you react to things and how you and what you're gonna do next. You lightly said it right now. It truly is about consistency, and it is about having faith within yourself and growing within yourself. So you have to learn from your losses, take the losses, accept the losses. That's just a part of it. Like, nobody or myself, like, just speaking for myself, I ain't never got nothing that, I didn't lose before and get back. Like, you gotta go through those kind of losses so you can take the lessons. And it may sound cliche, but it's not as easy as it sounds. Like, you truly do have to train your mind to be like, yo, I'm gonna learn from this. I'm gonna bounce back from this, like, so that you can grow. No new level. Every level that you reach comes with a new balance that you have to gain and then maintain before you can move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So that's just a part of it. Like, gain your balance on the level that you're at right now. Get your ducks in order on the level that you're at right now, so you can level up. Don't overextend yourself. And if you do take a risk, accept it. Make sure it's calculated. And if you lose, learn from it and come back. That's
for jewelry for you guys right there. So just saying. So how does it feel to hear so much again of your past singles from 7 years ago? Well, you said it was over 10, around 10, right? That's a decade.
From what, like?
For just projects like Airborne International presents
Cam
Gnarly.
Oh, yo, that was like my first mixtape. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I thought I took that off the internet.
I mean, because again, like, from those singles and those EPs and, from that to Dreams Are Calling, I Don't Give a Fuck, to Mary J, to Top Notch, like, I mean, the growth in that. How does that feel, and to look back on that?
It's a trip. It's inspiring, I guess, and within myself, because I've changed so much since I was that kid making Cam Meets World. Like, that was my introduction to stuff, and there's a lot of people that knew me off that alone, and I was blessed to have good energy around me that I really transcended a lot of stuff, and I really came up in leaps and bounds kind of thing. So I'm blessed in that, but Dreams Is Called. To think about Dreams Is Calling being like one of my first songs, and then songs like I Gives a Fuck with me and DC. Shout out me and DC. We just went to the Clipper game the other day. That's what I'm saying. You got to stay consistent with your real ones. Me and DC been down with each other for a long time, but to listen to that kind of music when I was making them, when I was more naive to the nature of the field that I'm in now, and then being able to make, listen to songs like Mary Jane and Top Notch and stuff like that, just is dope within myself, because you always gotta, like I said, you gotta have that self-awareness and know that I'm getting closer to that version of myself that I will feel the most fulfilled. And that's what's dope about that, is just like, dang, I really we still at it. We still at it. That's what's tight about it. And the music's just getting better. Like, that's tight. That's crazy. I hadn't even thought about those songs. I ain't thought about those songs.
I do my homework, But yeah, man. Which, by the way, Top Notch video, I loved it. At the beginning of it, I was chuckling. I was laughing because I mean, you gotta have it. To me, it kind of brought me back to my high school years. It kind of reminded me of like Outkast, Speaker Box, and type of kind of getting their dudes in order, and gotta keep them top notch. So I get that, and I loved it. It made me laugh a little bit in the beginning. It was a vibe.
That video was dope. Shout out to the homies. We actually shot that video in shout out to director Victor and the homie Duran. We shot that video in Santa Ana too.
Really?
Over in the OC area. Yeah. Okay. We out here. The I.E. That's what's dope about it, is that we're such a big county, but we work with other people very well. Or some of us anyway, but we work with other people very well, so we'll link up with people from the OC, and I got homies in Long Beach and that kind of thing. We shot a video in Inglewood. Like, you just have to stay moving and building that community so it goes out further. But yeah that video is top notch. That's one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, definitely one of mine too. So VHS Memories is a unique video that I saw.
Yeah. That's a series that I just do on my on my YouTube channel.
Okay, so that's why I want to get more in depth with that, because I wasn't too sure. I mean, I just thought it was a regular music video. I just thought that it was so unique because you weren't actually rapping. You were just, it's pretty much the life or the night cap of Cam.
Yeah.
So it's just like I love that. And it was obviously it was vintage. I mean, was that your vision of it to just, I don't know if these are series or
yeah, for me, when I think about my memories, I think about them like a VHS tape kind of thing, like just the inherent nostalgia. And also play, like I feel like my music in itself has like a very like a new vintage kind of sound to it.
Yeah.
That may sound like kind of cliche too, but it does that. It does embody that because like I have a youthful exuberance, but at the same time, like I'm not brand new. So I like to bring a lot, like Mary Jane, like I like to bring a lot of stuff that inspired me or sounds sonically that that I grew up listening to the forefront now. Because we need more energy like that. So that's the role that I'm trying to play. So when I do that, as far as like my videos on my YouTube channel, shout out to the homie VL. When we do that, it's just trying to create that aesthetic so that you can recognize that these are memories, moments in time that we were, that we just capture the night, and then we also make it fun, as a music video for certain songs that may not have a video, but you also have visual content.
Of course, yeah. And like since you mentioned Mary Jane, I mean, I was actually having that song repeated like this whole weekend because it's just like a vibe. It does take me back, call me old school, whatever. But it's just a vibe. It kind of reminded me a little bit of because I did when I listened to Chance the Rapper's newest album. It had like a little '90s feel to it, and that's what I loved about Mary Jane because to me it takes me to that place when I was a kid. And there are certain cuts that kind of sounded like that or gave me that type of feeling within me. So I love that.
Yeah, I love that. That's one of my favorite joints. We got a lot of new music that's in that same vein. Shout out to the homie Audio King. We've been working together for a few months now. And the homie Airplane James on that too. He's really dope.
Nice.
He's from Diamond Lane and with Problem over there, Bad Luck in him. So it's just dope again, to be able to work with different people, build bridges between the IE and LA, and then create sounds and aesthetics that make you feel something. Like the overall intention when I'm making music is that I want people to connect to it. So, I'm blessed that I have a growing fan base of people that listen to my music and immediately connect. So, I just have to continue in that motion is like my entire intention is like continue making music that connects with people and myself as well.
Yeah, I feel that, and I'm telling you, I mean, it's amazing to see you do it. One of the local artists out here in the IE to, build something like that because you never know within a couple years how further it can extend. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's a beautiful thing to watch to see somebody like I don't know. I'm very proud of like, I don't know. I love the fact that there's, IE artists out here that, are extending it.
It wasn't always like that too. I'm proud of that
exactly.
too. Shout out to the homies still doing it. Like, and the younger homies coming up too. It's just like, honestly, there was a time where like IE didn't have these kind of platforms or, so I talk about that with my homies like Phantom Thread and Noah and Triz. It's like, we came up, there weren't a lot of artists to look up to that were active and stuff like that. But for us, it's important to represent something like a true idea of what the IE can be rather than what people think it is.
Exactly.
And, continue sleeping and continue thinking that you're not out here working and stuff like that. Continue turning your nose up to it because we are building a positive community of artists that are like, we're hungry, we're passionate, we're creative, and we also feed off each other's energy as well. Like some in a competitive nature, other words in a like a inspired nature. Like and it's dope because there's so many of us. Like you'd be so surprised. The next thing you know, your favorite artist you may think is from LA really has roots in the IE. So
yeah, I feel that. So I noticed too that recently you performed over at Burger and Friends.
Yeah.
How was that turn out?
That was really dope. Shout out to my homegirl Hannah. We've been doing shows together since 2014. She's from Chicago.
Oh.
So I remember we did a show out here in Riverside. In 2014, it was like me, her, Kimbe X, who also from Chicago, and the homie Troy Breeze, who he produced that song Low Pro on the GoPro album. And me and Hannah just been cool ever since. And then she started working at Delicious Vinyl. We used to throw shows there a couple summers. And she started doing Burger and Friends, so she's about to release a new project, and she had me out to perform. It was dope. Like I got to do new music. There was like a live band. It was cracking. Like it was really dope. I love doing shows in LA, and I grew up right off of Adams. It's the pizza spot's off of Adams. So my auntie house is like right there off of Harcourt. So I, every time I'm over there, like I just go see my aunt. And I go to the pizza spot. Like it's just like regular. So it was dope. It was like being in my backyard.
That's dope.
Yeah.
But now you're going to be hosting at the Last Common Ground, right? At the Mission.
Last Common
Are
Ground.
you hosting
this
or
year.
you're performing?
I'm
too?
hosting. I might do a couple of new songs and stuff like that, but I'm just hosting. I mean, I've already I performed this year at Common Ground.
Okay.
I think it was in like October. But for me, it's important to host as well because for a lot of us, if you really came up in the IE or did things in the IE music scene over the last few years, you know, you had to touch the mic at Common Ground in Riverside. Like, if you wasn't at the vibe, you know, a lot of me and the homies said you wasn't at the vibe, I can't vibe with you, like, because you don't know. Like, that's where a lot of us, like, really sharpen our swords. Like, we really, you know, I created my ability to get on the stage wherever I'm at and make sure that people connect with me because I went through the school of going to the Vibe, going to Common Ground, going to all the shows at the Vibe, and seeing my peers performing and getting better and better and better over time. Like, it's a privilege to have been able to be a part of that because there's not a lot of stuff like that no more, and a lot of us are busy building our legacies, you know, at the same time. So, you know, doing shows like back then make it how it is today, but I don't know, it's just a trip just thinking about it.
It is a trip, and the lineup's a trip too. And I noticed that obviously it's you gonna be hosting, and it's gonna be at the Mission Inn.
Yeah,
if you guys are interested, what date is that?
It's at the Riverside Municipal Auditorium off of Mission. Okay. It's on the 17th, this coming Sunday, November 17th. I
might go to that because you know what? I've been out here I've been back in the IE, most of you know, for the past 2 years. So I mean. Yeah, it's about to be 2 years.
Yeah, come through. It's so many homies.
Oh no, sorry. Let me take that back. It's only actually been a year. But anyways, y'all feel me. So I need to pull up for sure.
Yeah, come. It's gonna be dope. I'm hosting. I might be doing a few records in between, bringing up the homies. Noah's hosting as well. And it's dope to have gained our history doing Common Ground and not be able to host it. You know, bringing up a lot of artists that are up and coming or you know are really coming up, like the homie. Speak Geeks out of Pomona and other like people who are more like solidified, like Oh Gosh Leotis and all the homies. Like, it's a trip.
And you know what? I'm reading. Since I've gone through your page, your music, and you know your catalog along with Noah too, like you guys got me into like looking into more further into artists, just like you said, you know, Dirty Birdie.
Yeah, Dirty Bird's a legend. He a Dino legend.
M16 the Great. Like I'm looking into this stuff. Yeah, because
the homie still, I forgot. The homie Richard Wright is gonna be there.
All right, so the lineup. Okay, so the lineup. So what I've got from the lineup was Dirty Birdie, Richard Wright, Waju. M16 the Great, Ace and Spear, Oh Gosh, and Psycho Sloth, Sir Speaks, and much more. So you guys need to pull up on this.
It's cracking.
So yeah, man. Real quick, I want to ask you though, what are your goals to conquer before we wrap up 2019?
I'm definitely going to give you guys more visuals before the year is over. We have a lot of stuff on deck. At the same time, we are planning for 2020. You know, just gotta stay steps ahead. I'm low key already in January, so.
Okay, that's what's up. That was my next question. If you have those for 2020.
Yeah, I have work for you. I got some more stuff for you before the year ends. A few more new records before the year ends. We still trying to figure out if we're gonna give you guys another project. We're just gonna keep giving you all these songs. I've been making a lot of songs.
Yeah.
I lived a lot of life in the last couple of months. So I've been making a lot of records. But I'm excited to just share more visual content. You know, more new music. I'll be posting more stuff on my YouTube channel, so like more visuals, and I'm gonna start doing more like vlog work and podcast stuff. So, you know, just broadening the overall like brand from the Posy Waves, and a lot of people don't know too. I do stuff with Rad Habits Holiday, that page. Okay. We pretty much use it now as like source to, you know, as a platform for I.E. artists, no matter where you at, we post your music up and stuff like that. So we're gonna be getting into throwing more events and stuff like that. I used to throw warehouse parties back in San Bernardino when I first started Rad Habits in like 2014, and then after I did that, I was throwing warehouse parties in the Dino because there was no police. We was not getting in no trouble. I would order like a 50 slice big ass piece of pie, sell that shit for $1 each. And then, you know, charge alcohol and not get in trouble for that shit. And that's how I made my first album, with that money off of that show. After doing like 3 shows, I had enough to do what I was trying to do. I love stories like this. And then I used to throw shows in LA at Los Globos. I probably threw like 4 or 5. I had a show called Manifestival. And it was just, I would book people that I loved, from Iman Amari and Lenofornia, Nice Guy Vinny, Light from Pac Div, Mibs from Pac Div, Waju, so many homies like Moni Mendoza, just a lot of homies. Like that's all I would do. So now we're getting back into throwing more events and stuff like that because we got more time.
Okay, well we're definitely gonna be looking out for that. So what does the I.E? I know you're from LA, right?
Well, I'm from I.E. I'm from San Bernardino, but
okay.
I was born in LA. It's a weird. It's a weird
I feel
thing.
you. I was born in Santa Ana, but I was raised in Anaheim. I feel you.
Yeah.
So
I got love for LA.
Yeah.
I grew up. A big part of my life was in LA for sure. But I went to school and everything. Like my first fight was in LA, but my second one was in I.E. So it's like my second, third one was in I.E. So it's hard to say. But I really rep for San Bernardino because that's where I lay my head more than anything.
I was just gonna ask you, what does it specifically San Bernardino mean to you? The 9. What does the 9 represent to you?
I mean, the 9, outside of it just being a hell of a great song that I made, but the 9
streaming on Tidal.
Yeah, tap in. Shout out to A Brook, video by Dude Vision. But for me, San Bernardino it's like a melting pot. It's like it has a little bit of everything, and you could go a lot of the same energy I could find in LA. I could find in San Bernardino if you know what street to turn down, and certain stuff that you can't get in LA, you could get in San Bernardino. I love to go for hikes in the mountains and stuff like that, and just be around nature. And for me, San Bernardino is that. It's beautiful. It's ugly. It's duality. And for me, that's if it wasn't for my growth in San Bernardino, more than anything, more than what I've learned in LA too. But if it wasn't for my growth in San Bernardino in the 9, I would not make the kind of music that I make. Like for me, it's important to be a representation of duality, to understand that the works in the light and the dark, and that's I.E. That's San Bernardino for sure, because there's some beautiful people there, and there's a lot of light, but there's also a lot of darkness and stuff like that. And if you're able to transcend both and find your place, that's something special.
I feel that. Last but not, well, you know what? I think I got a couple more questions, but just 3 more questions. Yeah. But what does Cam like to do for fun besides music?
What do I do for fun?
Yeah.
I mean, I be smoking. I mean, I like to smoke weed or go to the movies with my shorty, or hang out with my brother. I have my pops is youngest of 10, so I got mad cousins. So I love to hang out with my cousins. I love to hang out with my brother. My brother just had a niece, so I like to hang out with them and just be around her. I spend a lot of time with family. Like, I don't know, my days are like going wild and crazy. Are like different now. Like I just be on the job, just making music and trying to maintain the balance within myself, within my mental, my physical, and my spirit. So I spend time doing those things. But when I'm not performing at shows, I like to go to shows. When I'm not making music, I still like to be around people who are creating. I love to be inspired more than anything. So for me, what's fun is just, finding things that bring me joy and finding things that keep me happy so I can stay inspired.
I feel it. I asked this to some of my guests too. When it's all said and done, right, and you finally get to wherever your destination you're trying to get to, when it's all said and done, and what do you want to be remembered by? What do you want to leave when it comes to building this legacy within this hip hop culture? I mean, what do you want your friends, family, your tribe remember you as the most?
I want people to remember me as somebody who made a positive impact more than anything. I feel like a lot of stuff about me doesn't necessarily have to do with just music. It could be a friend that I've touched, or someone that I'm close to, or the history that we have together, like in our travels kind of thing. Like, so it's more like a personality thing. Like a lot of my listeners are my friends, and I got a lot of friends. I remember my homie was talking to me one time. He was like, "Bro, there's no way you know like 5,000 people." I'm like, "Hey, yes, I do. I may not know all their names, but I know them." But it's like that. Like for me, it's important to have built connections and to have created positive impact, so that not only my music but my essence will live on. And for me, if you listen to my music over the last few years, it's been about self-awareness. It's been about positivity. It's been about understanding that you're gonna go through them daily duels, but you got to keep going. And that's what I feel like. That's what I'll be remembered for more than anything. I make a lot of really good music, but I feel like it's just as important to make good music to me as it is to be a good person. So I feel like I'll definitely be remembered for being a good person at the end of the day.
That's beautiful. I feel that. So yeah, man, closing this out, drop your socials, any events that you're coming up, any singles, albums, EPs dropping soon. Feel free.
Check out my new music out right now. We just dropped a video not too long ago for Top Notch on YouTube. I got a brand new single out right now called Mary Jane, featuring the homie Airplane James, and that's on all the streaming services. I'm hosting and performing at Common Ground this Sunday, and I got more and more content and videos and just new levels coming in the 2020 and the 2019. It's not over yet.
And in the meantime, you did come with gifts. Cam came with gifts.
You got to get the album.
Exactly.
You got to get the album. Gnarvana out right now. It's streaming on everything. It really is streaming on everything. We got cassettes, we got CDs. Like shout out to all the people.
But it sounds better on title. Just saying.
It does sound better on title. It does. Hey, but there's nothing like that sound on cassette either. You gotta know both. But shout out to title. Title is the best. They pay me the best.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for stopping by and pulling up.
It's my pleasure.
Really appreciate it. Yeah, man. Thank you so much, and thank you guys for watching. Her TV, baby. Let's go. Cam Gnarly.
Women, they on my line, cause they want my time. I say so low key, dog, I'm hard to find. I might boost my price up, I'm feeling like it's time. It's time to boost the price up, feeling like it's time. Hey, top notch posse want the most, not the lesser. Used to keep my dope zip locked in my dresser. Gotta keep my scope on swivel for finesses. You never know when the devil's gonna test you. Top notch posse want the most, not the lesser. Used to keep my dope zip locked in my dresser. I got to keep my scope on swivel for finesses. You never know when the devil's gonna test you.